Welcome to the second edition of GAPSULE. I know you've taken out time 1 hour from a Saturday, so we will make it crisp and at the same time insightful for you. So here's GAPSULE, which is a very unique edition, basically created, innovative format, bring out people to just understand the knowledge gap and see what we together as an industry can do to address that gap. And with that, here's the introduction to the speakers that we have today, Mr. Girish Kulkarni, Mr. Abhinav Sharma, and Ms. Dolan Bastya. So we have the very first speaker, and I'd like to welcome you, ma'am. Good afternoon. Happy to have you here.
Thank you, Zeenat. Thank you, everybody.
So she's someone who's actually, when you say complexity, she's someone who believes in complexity can just be made easy. A challenger in the way she approaches everything, and today the General Manager of Business and Marketing, Asia Pacific, Glenmark Pharmaceuticals Ltd. With that, we move to our second speaker, Mr. Girish Kulkarni. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Zeenat, and let me welcome you all for this program.
So we are very, very happy to have you today in the panel because I think it's quite a unique and it intrigued me the entire journey of yours. Medical legal expert who's actually the core and someone who's become the leader in sales and marketing. Bringing in the aspects and the best of the two worlds put together for an application moving forward, I think commendable. So I'm glad to have you here. So with that, we move to our third speaker for today, someone who can be called as a marketer by heart, also but focuses a lot on data-driven insight and data-driven decision-making. Please join me to welcome Mr. Abhinav Sharma, Marketing Head, Cadila Pharmaceuticals Ltd.
Thank you, Zeenat. Good afternoon, my peer group, and good afternoon, everyone out there.
How are you all doing? So, Abhinav, I think you've been doing sessions before, is what I hear.
Yeah, Zeenat. I've been engaged with a few of the sessions in the past, and I think this is the right platform where we all are interacting and discussing the latest happenings in the pharma industry and how to bridge the gap between the healthcare practitioners and the pharma industry. So I think GAPSULE is one such program that is doing a great job.
Definitely, I agree with you on that. And I think we have a veteran, I would say, Mr. Girish Kulkarni. How do you feel today?
Yeah, it's been great to be discussing a lot of challenges which we are actually facing. Probably we are at a crossroad where as a marketer, we need to look at multiple aspects when it comes to marketing, when it comes to actually reaching out to the doctors as well as the patients. So I believe that what we will discuss next 1 hour would be of really use to all of us.
Look forward, sir. And last but not the least, I think, ma'am, this is your first session, is what you mentioned. So happy to have you here. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I think really excited to be part of this discussion because when probably 1 year back, we all suddenly, faced the issue of, this global pandemic. Nobody was prepared for, such a thing, such a transformation, such a, huge change in the dynamics, the way pharma industries are working these days. So everything actually started abruptly and immediately everybody shifted to the digital mode, whether or not, no one was sure whether it's going to stay for long or it's just a stopgap arrangement. I think after 1.5 years, we still, in a dilemma, what is going to stay for long and what is just a temporary solution. So I think such program where, open forum for everybody to put the insights and decide the way forward is really, really something which is needed at this juncture. So once again, thank you to GAPSULE for arranging this program. Yeah, really excited.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here and taking out time. Happy to have you here. So I think what you said is pretty right. Just everything changed, and by now you don't really know what's here to stay or what will actually end up making a huge impact. And with that, I would just jump on with my first question to Mr. Girish. Uh, so, if we talk about the change, a lot has been changing, and we've been hearing, reading, also being impacted at our work about it. But if you see, the digital health of our country has changed in another scale, which maybe we couldn't have expected before March 2020. But that is completely upside down. So, what are the key changes that you see right now that will have a larger impact to the overall industry? And those are things that we have to watch out for as well in plans and strategies that we make.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Zeenat. If I need to put it across, I would broadly classify into two different challenges as such. One challenge concerns about what is the relationship between an pharma professional and a healthcare professional, and last 2 decades primarily it has gone actually into a sea change. There has been a complete transformation as far as this relationship is concerned. If we look at the digitalization in a thrust in India, it was started somewhere a decade before when we had an internet revolution and we started getting access to the faster internets. And before that, if you look at the cusp of somewhere around 2000 or 2010, the primary mode of education for a doctor, it had always been what information does a rep takes to his chamber and what he educates to a doctor in addition to those physical CVs we used to happen. And suddenly there was a information explosion and information was available everywhere. So we saw that, and this period was around 10 years just before what we call it as COVID, which hit us. That was the one situation we had. On the other hand, we had a situation where patient was primarily dependent on the complete physical consultation as far as the doctor is concerned. And with the COVID hitting us and with the government legalizing the telemedicine per se, we saw suddenly there is a everywhere telehealth is happening, telemedicine is been happening. Though the foundation was laid in 2015 when Mr. Modi has taken up digital health as the critical agenda. Then we had a digital health departments coming up, and then we now have a digital health mission on the lines of national rural and national urban health mission. And we are now also putting up as a nation a complete ecosystem where every single patient would be connected with a network of doctors, hospitals, pharmacies, laboratories, and then it's a complete circle where every single stakeholder in the health will be part of this ecosystem. And if we remember that on 15th of August last year, our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, had unveiled the Health Act. That is the first step, and that is the tip of iceberg. And we have already created a strong infrastructure, including the sandbox network, so that entire healthcare system gets integrated digitally to each other. So we are looking at an ecosystem where we are looking at a lot of health to be delivered through the digital channel. And same time we are also looking at an ecosystem where a lot of knowledge has been delivered through digital channels, and we see that there is a parallel knowledge as well as the health infrastructure which is going to evolve, which probably as a pharmaceutical marketer we need to be ready for.
Thank you so much for such a detailed explanation, because I think you called out multiple different aspects. We spoke about telehealth, which definitely, I think before 2020, we couldn't have imagined the adoption with which it has happened, and with ease that there are systems already in the market that both the patient as well as the doctor can connect. And this definitely is here to stay in the new normal. Uh, and so I think I'll just like to not close on this and just with this move on directly to Dolan. If you could just add, because given your role, you look after Asia Pacific region. What are the changes or themes that you see not just limited to India, but also seeing the expansion of it globally.
Right. So, Zeenat, I think the same trend we see across the globe. I mean, depending on the country regulations, country, dynamics, or country, how the industry behaves. But more or less the same trend we see across. And especially if you see the Asian market today, the major challenges that companies are facing is definitely, the transformation from face to face to the digital mode, right? Because of the social distancing, because of the COVID norms, right? So this is actually changing the entire the way the age old conventional practices that we have been seeing for years. And today, just to give you an example, probably if you see it in the treatment cycle, it has always been considered that HCPs are the experts and patients are the passive recipients of the treatment. But now, because the patients are getting so much exposure to all the informations because of this, digital, platforms, because of those, all the digital sites. So the way patient used to behave before, that has totally changed. There was a survey which was done, I think, in Asian consumers, and they said very clearly, 60% of the respondents, they say, they are going to follow the digital management of their health even post COVID, because they saw the quick responses via the digital tools. They saw the ease of use. They also could access to the personalized, health reports, and everything actually, made them a very centric, I mean, the companies will have to become very patient centric. That is the future, right? So the same trend we see across the Asian countries. So, it's doctor, it's patient, and also because the e-commerce is something which is actually evolving across the various Asian countries. So this is something which is going to stay. And there was a report which shows that, tele consultation as a search in Google. So if you see the example of countries like Philippines, it has increased 54x times. If you see the example of countries like Singapore, it has increased by almost 8 times. So definitely there is a tendency to move towards more of teleconsultation. There is something which is called e-commerce. The market is definitely going to grow significantly with the e-commerce. There are many companies who are thinking to, even for Asian countries, changing the status, approval status of the molecules or the products as well, from RX to e-commerce to OTC, because that is the future which is going to bring significant growth in the market. So that way, broadly, if you see, it's the same across, there is a issue of increasing gap in terms of knowledge, in terms of relationship between different type of, it's not only restricted only to the, medical reps to doctors. There are also a gap being increased between doctor and patient, because now most of the consultations are via virtual medium. There is increased gap in the pharmacist and the, sales rep. So the gap is increasing, and, this is something where the digitalization will definitely play a major role. Though, last 1.5 years, we saw a lot of changes that happened in terms of, growing the e-commerce, in terms of, patient care tools, multiple things been developed by the companies, but, there is a long way to go. But broadly, everybody has realized that the dynamics has changes, and we can't act the same age-old practices, the age-old ways that we have been doing. Yeah.
Right. I think I'll just take that and move to you, Abhinav, that what we just heard, that with the change shift, there is gap created between each stakeholder, be it the pharma companies to the customer, the doctors, or the doctors, or between the patient. Also, this is the need which is not just in our country, but also the trend of this is being seen across. Uh, with the gap rising, also parallelly, what is happening in the market is that with telehealth, purchase increasing on e-commerce, there's a lot of data that is creating outright there. Do you see right now with the change shift, we are marketing approaches, because I think marketing becomes that key pillar in any pharma company to build a strategy. And as part of the strategy, the need gap, understanding the need gap and then filling it. Uh, it's a big problem, and I know that there is no simple answer for it. But how do you see this getting addressed today with marketing?
I think Zeenat, you are addressing the right point here. And but I personally believe that medicine is an ever-changing science, and as the time changes, the techniques must change too. And what I believe that everything was there pre-COVID also. These resources were available, people were there, platforms were there, even the e-commerce was there. But this COVID has given the opportunity to many sectors, including the pharma sector or the healthcare sector, to utilize these resources in the best possible way. And what I believe that it is important to understand that with the change in the technology, it is for the benefit of the patient, for the patients only. So now the technology are more towards the patient centricity. The patients, they can choose that I want to go for this requirement, or from this requirement to I want to go for this platform. Even if you see now, they are rapidly changing the ratings of the healthcare practitioners as well on the various platforms. So patient, they know the technology now. Healthcares, they know how to come closer to their patients. And now this is the responsibility and the onus for the pharmaceutical companies to help the healthcare professional to understand these technologies in a better way. So create more sustainable long-term relations so that the patient and the healthcare practitioner both can be benefited out of it. So yes, the time is changing, technologies they are emerging, and it is for the benefit for the both pharma industry as well as for the healthcare practitioners.
Technology coming to our rescue, and here to stay, and definitely help with the scale and helping it grow. Mr. Girish, coming to you with technology, and the adoption of this is no more a good to have factor, but has to be an integral part of our entire ecosystem. Uh, the adoption is the biggest challenge in this change management with technology. uh, what is the gap that you see that we have today in ensuring a faster adoption, both from the pharma industry point of view of how we are doing things with our systems, etc., and also adoption from the customers' behavior point of view, where now definitely we spoke about things are changing, but still there is resistance, and it's across that the dependency of, say, a face to face as an approach will still be higher in our country today, because even to access an email, someone from a rural would just prefer to avoid it. So how do you see the adoption of healthcare practitioner playing a role in today's changing ecosystem of our pharma industry?
Yeah. So if we look at the technology adoption, now there has been a lot of research which has been done as far as the technology adoption is been concerned. And there are many factors which actually play important role. So, and these are primary factors like how did a doctor or a patient pursues its usefulness as far as his own benefit is concerned. What are the subjective norms? What people around me are practicing? What is my perceived accessibility benefit? Or what are the perceived economic benefits I'm going out getting out of it. Now these are primarily 4 or 5 important aspects which actually define whether a technology is going to be adopted or it is there is going to be resistance to the technology. Another important aspect when we talk about the technology, whether there is a presence of a compelling factor or there is absence of a compelling factor. Now today we saw there was a sudden jump into the adoption of the technology because you were forced into it. You were sitting at home, you were having COVID, you had no access to a doctor. So pharma or a patient alike, you had to reach out to a doctor using technology. You had no other choice. Now as a pharma marketeer, what I need to understand first is that how much of this technology adoption is sustainable and how much of this is reversible. So I will just cite an example. Today we had almost everybody must have done that. We had a lot of purchases using the e-commerce online, But the moment the shops are open, the malls are open, we intend to go out, we still intend to get out of the food delivery apps, and we still want to have that physical experience. Same thing applies as far as the physical experience is concerned. So adoption is definitely going to be there. The digital adoption is definitely going to increase as far as the both doctors as well as the patients are concerned. But it's not going to be something like where you see that there is a huge sustainability of what adoption we saw during the lockdown. So there is also going to be a situation where both will going to balance out. There will be a space for physical as well as there will be space for the digital mode of technology. Another thing which I would like to point out, what has actually happened at the start of the lockdown. At the start of the lockdown, if you take up a doctor per se, doctors understanding or usage of the technology what was at absolute basic level, and pharma industry went into the full throttle because they had the only digital to do, and the doctor was bombarded with huge digital initiatives for which he was not prepared for. Over a period of time, with the adoption of the technology, we started using the Netflix, we started using the Prime, and we started doing everything digitally. Doctors usage of digitalization has also increased. Meanwhile, what has happened is that after 3 months, the marketeers got frustrated and they started looking out for the physical channels. So when started, there was an inverse relationship with a doctor having the tolerance of digital acceptance at lowest level and pharma doing highest. Then there came a situation where the doctor's acceptance was higher and pharma was doing not doing it well. That is one thing. Second thing, also what has happened is that are you doing something which is meaningful for a doctor? Unless it is meaningful, unless it gives him gives him some benefit. I'm giving you example. If a medical representative had it been doing a call physically, he would go once in 15 days and give a reminder or drop a marketing literature. Today, because it is WhatsApp, he is sending 30 literatures 30 times a day. That is 30x increase. Probably that is where also we need as a marketers balancing, planning out what am I really doing. Is my information worthy? Am I delivering the knowledge? Again, the question boils down, is it knowledge? So unless I am delivering the knowledge, probably delivering anything through the digital mode from doctor's perspective, probably it is not useful. So pursued usefulness, like the technology adoption theory, if you see, it is one of the most famous theories by Fred Davis, where it has been almost studied technology across the sectors, and they say that unless the pursued usefulness is not there, no technology adoption will happen. So we have to be as a marketers responsible to have that pursued usefulness, where a doctor will see that you are doing something relevant.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Girish. I think the need of our customer, and I really like the point where you mentioned about the imbalance with which it happened. And I think the balance, still, I feel there is a longer way to go, but at least what we are moving to is understanding the effectiveness and being contextually relevant to the customer, and not just because there is a system and initiate the bombardment. And I think that leads me to customer centricity. And I think even before we talk about what is the right way, or this tactic is long term or this one is short term, uh, Donal, I have a question for you. That with the shift that we just spoke about and with everything changing, when we talk about our customer, uh, the day in the life of that customer is also changing. Earlier, there was dependency on physical meets, physical connect of the medical rep, through the medical rep getting some very novel content around the therapy, around what is to be needed to fill in their knowledge gap. Now that dependency is clearly reducing, and with the digital world, there will be a proportion divided into each by the customer. So, do you see that we understand the behavior change of our customer? Uh, from a physical as well as a digital need? And how do you see this digital behavior and understanding impacting our further strategies and plans?
Sure, Zeenat. So I think the first thing that taking a clue from what Girish also said. So somewhere we realized, right, there is something called as digital fatigue, which has happened, after initial 5, 6 months, where instead of just meeting a doctor once in a month, a rep is bombarding with 30 LBLs, right? So and every company, as I said, we abruptly overnight shifted to digital platform, right? So every company thought maybe arranging ECME or maybe meeting for the doctors will be perceived as a value added service, but it's really not, right? So the thing is that because there is a factor of digital fatigue, so companies should be very, very careful on what they offer to the doctors via this digital platform, right? So there are different ways how we can actually do the value addition in the to address the first, the HCP part, right, in their practice. There can be now again coming back to the point of knowledge gap because of all this social distancing or relationship gap. So there is something that is definitely the doctors are looking for to get more and more knowledge on new technologies, new molecules, new dosage form that has been globally available. And I remember reading one survey where doctors say, the physicians say that 87% of responders said that they could have given a better outcome of the treatment if they would have access to the in-depth knowledge about the blockbuster or breakthrough innovations in their field, right? So there is a need for knowledge updation for doctors for sure. So here the pharma company can play a major role. So it may not be just product or molecule related CMEs. It can be more than that. It can be cross-continental, sharing of good practices, cross-continental meetings. It can be more of case-based discussion. So this is one, way of how we can help them enriching the knowledge. The second important tool, probably which is currently missing, is the doctor-patient connect, because there are restrictions in terms of physical visit to the doctor, to the clinic, right? There is social distancing. So there is a way how pharma company can come forward and help the doctor, providing a platform for e-consultations, or maybe bringing the doctor to the social media to bring that connect, or decrease that the patient footfall issue in the clinic. So there are beautiful platforms available which can give end-to-end solutions, starting from e-consultation, diagnosis, the e-prescription, and finally delivering the medicines to the doorstep, right? So everybody has those who have implemented this in their countries, they have really enjoyed the benefit of such services. So this is going to stay for long, right? So coming back to again this thing that this is going to stay for long, and we all should be ready that to be innovative, be creative. Now coming back to another important parameter, which is related to doctor patient connect. So there are different apps being prepared by different digital companies who can be very simple app, but that can be perceived by the patient as a value added service being given by the doctor. That's what something that patients are looking for now. There are also something which is automated marketing by the doctors. So this is the time where doctors should be probably adopting those things in their self marketing as well. And there are also something which can be patient support initiatives by the pharma companies, something like very simple medical legal updates for e-consultation, because e-consultation was never legalized before. Now it is a legalized thing. So there are issues which can be related to medical legal complications. So those things starting from knowledge enrichment, patient connect, practice support initiatives. So those are the different things where can be served by the pharma companies in an innovative way, and that will be perceived as a value added service, and probably there we can address the issue of digital fatigue.
Absolutely. I think the way you said it, it seems so simple. And I just
Not
hope
actually.
that it just disappears in the similar fashion. So uh, thank you for that response. And I think, Abhinav, here's the heavyweight. that comes in when we always very easily put across that the role that a pharma company should play. Inside the organization, that core responsibility is at that marketer to drive that change. And then there's this entire ecosystem with that marketer being the hero there. So I have two questions. While I have a long list of questions for you, but out of that, just two for now. Uh, are we, and the similar question from what I had for Donald also. Today, as an industry, are we listening enough? Are we understanding the need of our customer? And the need now shifting to digital behaviors, preferences. Uh, are we talking about behavioral and psychographic segmentation when we are putting our strategy and plans together? And a follow up to this, once we have, say, the right target, and with digital coming in, definitely personalization, hyper personalization. I think even Mr. Girish mentioned about Netflix. In the world of Netflix, if everything gets personalized, based on my behavior and my consumption and preference, same is the expectation that the HCP will have with the way they are consuming our content. The biggest part that I think, even if we get the system in place, even if we have the right mapping of our media's frequencies, etc., to limit the numbers, uh, the main fuel to this entire engine would be the content. Do we have the agility to address and churn out the way that now it needs not just one, not just two, but we're talking about as per different needs, different segments, giving what they need? Do you think we are ready enough and agile enough to deliver that?
So I think, Zina, this is a very relevant question, and you have divided the question into the two parts. First is the need of the customer, and the technology and the expectation of the customer out of it, right? So I would like to highlight here that when the entire country was going through the turmoil during this pandemic, it severely impacted the healthcare industry, healthcare practitioners. But on the same side, it has created a large impact on the pharma industry as well. While the healthcare practitioners were going through, as taking a clue from what Dolan has said, and that the pharma company has bombarded with the content to the healthcare practitioners. During that phase, even the pharma companies were also going through the transformation because the entire thing was new, and the people, the product managers, the marketing heads, and their various departments, they were doing the regular marketing work, how to engage the customer, how to improve the market share. And all of the sudden there came the entry of the digital marketing. So and I must compliment each and every pharma marketer that they have adapted to this within a very short span of time, and they have started engaging the customer with a novel and various innovative way of marketing. Here I would like to suggest, and which I personally experience, and which I personally and we personally doing, that is, we need to define our 3 C's while doing any digital campaigns or engaging the customer. Each marketer should define the 3 C's, because what is more important, what customer value, that is more important. What I am pushing to the customer, that is not important. Whether my doctor, whether my healthcare practitioner is going to value what I am providing to him. So here the 3 C's are: number one, I need to have my context in place. Number two, I need to define my content, what content I'm creating, what is my context for the customer. And the third most important thing is what channel I'm utilizing to pass on my message to my customer. So addressing your first question here, the need of the healthcare practitioner. So here I need to define my channel. Through what channel? Whether doctor is happy with the daily WhatsApp flyers, whether doctor is happy with the webinars where every company want to engage the doctor, or whether doctor is happy through KYCs, that various personalized activities, email activities that we have initiated. There is a customer for every activity. There is a customer for the WhatsApp flyer as well. There is a customer who would like to engage himself in the webinars, and even they are the doctors, healthcare practitioners who are responding to the mails as well. So I need to define my channel based on the priority of the customer, right? This is one thing. Second, the personalization. Yes, definitely. What where most of the marketers, the most important thing they are missing out is how to convert my campaign into ROI not only in terms of the revenue, what revenue I'm generating, the analytics, where this activity. So if I have done 10 WhatsApp campaign, what is my analytics? What if I'm doing one campaign through email? What is my click rate? What is my mail opening rate? So rather than doing lots of activity, what is more important? You need to segregate your customers based on the analytics that has been generated post campaign or post activity. Now there, I must say, during last 2.5 years, there are many companies they came up with the platforms where they are providing the campaigns as well, where they are engaging the customers also, and third, they are generating the analytics also. So marketer should engage themselves in reading those analytics, whether my customer is happy what I'm doing with what I'm doing, whether he is utilizing my information for the improvement of the life of his patient. Because ultimately what we are doing is for the betterment of the patient. So here everybody should understand this and should must know this, that whatever pharma companies they are today doing, it is for the benefit and bringing the healthcare practitioners, hospitals, even to much extent the retailers and the patient closer to each other, bridging that gap. So I hope, Zeenat, I have addressed both the queries well. That is the need and the personalization and how to target the right set of the customers.
Absolutely. I think you gave like a framework for a run plan or a strategy right there. And if those pillars have been done right with the right tactic and right KPI focus, I think that's exactly the way forward. So thank you so much, Abhinav, for that. And I think because you've covered so well the understanding the need gap from a customer side and also how from a pharma side we should be focusing on. There's one stakeholder that we've not covered in this entire journey, but a very important stakeholder in the entire pharma industry. And I would like to hear, Mr. Girish, from you on what your views are about how pharma company can fill in the gap for our retailers, our chemist partners. What's the knowledge gap with the changing time that you see has emerged with this entire set of stakeholder, and what contribution can a pharma company do in order to build this knowledge, also bridge this knowledge and build this even stronger?
Yeah. If we talk about the retailers per se, now I believe that while all our activities are directed towards a doctor, probably retailer itself has been the most ignored segment. We don't go beyond doing what we call RCP or a chemist audits. Our primary focus remains on understanding what is happening with our brands or the competitor brands. But as a retailer segment, there are a lot of changes happening. So if we look at the recent clinical pharmacy guidelines which have been came up in 2015, and I had been part of one such program recently where I took up a session exclusively for the pharmacist, updating on what kind of practices a pharmacist has to do. There has been a lot of change which has happened. There are a lot of guidelines which have come up, and a lot is been expected today out of a pharmacist. Today a pharmacist is not just expected to dispense what he is dispensing, but he's also expected to counsel a patient. He's also expected to guide a patient. And probably I believe, like Mr. Abhinav has already put across, that uh, what kind of content we can even create for a pharmacist, that is also equally important. Today we whatever the level of education we do for the doctors, even if we can do around 10% of that for the retailers, we can probably take to the retailers to a level where retailer can help deliver his own services better, where he can do little bit more of patient counseling. He is able to dispense the medicines better. He is able to fulfill the prescription better by explaining to the patient. So if you really ask me what should we do at a retailer level, so probably we can take up education as an agenda even for the retailers in India. If we talk about numbers, we have got almost 11 lakh brick and mortar pharmacies across India, and almost similar number of pharmacists employed there. So we need them to be targeted, and we need to create knowledge based campaigns for the pharmacist.
Right. Got it. Thank you for that response. I think with that, I'll just move to Dolan, to you. And the question is that with technology coming in, with digital making its mark and saying I'm here to stay, uh, how do you see the learning platforms that we already have, which are available online, uh, helping in this entire ecosystem? And the reason why I ask this is just because a digital capture of a behavior or preference is simpler here. Do you see this actually growing on to determine the need of activities that we would be doing in for a physical interaction as well? So I think, in short, what I'm seeing is the insight and data that we capture and the interaction of the customer from the online platforms. Do you see this becoming the base of how we build the scientific knowledge buckets, basis personas, etc.?
Uh, Definitely, Zeenat. So, because of the digitalization that we have seen the transformation in last 1.5 years, so there are a lot of things that we have now access, right, which was not there probably 1.5 year back. So I can just give you an example of, simple Facebook, pages for increasing patient awareness, and the type of queries, the type of questions the consumer will put on the forum, that can actually help the marketeers creating the strategy behind that, right? And there are also, options where from the same simple Facebook page where you can play a crucial role to bring doctors and consumers in one platform to discuss certain health issues. And depending on the type of queries or discussion that you have, you take the insights and the same thing you convert in your campaign. At the same time, just to for immediate probably the commercial benefit, the same, this can be a digital or pharmacy or e-shop, that if that can be linked with that particular, program. So, companies can even serve with the products to the consumers. So everything put together, it's a chain. And I think the world is becoming smaller and smaller and accessible for all. Today, we talk about accessibility of medicines and, reaching the right, giving the right access of the medicines to the right or the, person or the group of patients. So this is something that is definitely going to, be the vital thing in future for strategizing things for consumers as well as HCPs. I'll just give an example, also one parameter probably what we have not discussed so far, that pre-COVID and COVID era, if you see, previously when I want to go to a doctor to consult, I used to say, okay, I will consult my friend or my neighbor or my family, who is the best doctor for me. Today I don't have to go to ask to my neighbor, right? I just can go to Google or any other platform, can see the Google rating of the doctor, we can see the review of the doctor and can choose the best, doctor for me. So, this is something which everybody has to adopt, whether, the consumers have already seen the benefit, so they are going to use this for long. Even HCPs, right? They should, if they don't probably focus on their digital part of the practice, they will not, their patient will not be able to find him on the, online platforms. So, these are the few things which probably at every level of this, ecosystem, we need to, focus, especially so that everybody which is part of this healthcare ecosystem get benefited due to this. Right, Zeenat? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think the way you said that, if there's a lot of knowledge digitally, so for people who are not yet there, it will be the need that will pull them there. So digital adoption is definitely happening sooner or later. Now, from the digital adoption, the interactions, etc., that we are building, I think for us also, what we pick from here and what we need to take forward is how quickly can we bring in that value-based interactions with our customer? And I think that will be the pillar of the long-term relationship, which is actually stimulating and a win-win situation for both sides, rather than just one of the relationship that continues among the others in the competitive role. Uh, Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So I see that we've come, unfortunately, at least to the end of the round of discussion that's there. But I'll just like to take maybe one piece with each one of you with your views on this question, and then we will quickly jump on to the Q&A. For everyone who's joined us, we've not forgotten about you. It's just that the discussion was so engaging that we actually forgot that we're doing it, and there are people like you who are connected and joined us with us. So please do share your questions. Please feel free to use the chat box to share your questions. And even though I'm going on with my round of questions, being selfish there, but we will definitely have time to get back to you, to your questions, and get those addressed. Just one sec for me to stop this. Okay. Cool. So I think this time I'll just break the order, and Dolan, the questions for you. With the chain shift that we are talking about, the adoption is not uh, uh, an option anymore, but a must-have activity for all of us. And with adoption, there is a lot of shift that's happening. There is also deeper understanding that we can get to our needs, and then the major part of putting the right thing for the right set and checking the effectiveness and impact. And I think this entire closed loop marketing approach that we in pharmaceutical business look after. Uh, what are the three key things that you would suggest for any pharma company today to invest on? And this also, if in case there's something you would like to indicate which will bring a short-term impact, or this is an putting down your buck for a long-term race, would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, sure. So I think, Zeenat, we all have realized that, that a lot of changes have happened in last, since the pre-COVID and post-COVID era, right? But there are, this was probably the tip of the iceberg. The major disruption is going to come again, right? And probably the one thing that taking, ahead from the digitalization is going to disrupt the pharma industry probably will be AI, right? So, artificial intelligence is something which is really, really, been used by different other industries, whether it's aviation, whether it's transportation, finance, and everything. But probably pharma is just getting the momentum. And, and there are different reports by BCG with different surveys which says that pharma is definitely going to gain significantly from this AI, especially in terms of improvement of the efficiencies, research and development, and also the sales and marketing. So my thing for pharma companies, if they want to really invest, so probably, technology is something which is, they really need to think in a serious, planned manner, how they are going to invest in terms of improving the technologies, their basic, setups in terms of manufacturing, in terms of R&D, so that the, future when the pharma gets, this AI, impact of AI, probably every pharma company can, quickly adopt that and can survive and do well. This is something that is definitely, I feel that pharma companies should invest in. The second parameter will be, though we are talking about transformation from probably, the physical to digital, but we know that neither physical nor digital is going to survive alone. It will be a physical or it will be a hybrid model. So in case we want currently, because of the revenue requirement by the pharma companies, probably there were limitations in terms of reach of the patient, reach to the HCPs or patients. So probably pharma company can invest in a hybrid model where they are having both for the niche segment, probably face to face, and for the mass segment, probably they can go for a hybrid model with telemedicine or something. So this is one factor probably that will pharma companies will get benefited because of this hybrid model, because the reach will be mass, and their visibility and their commercial benefits will be there. This is the second thing. And the third thing is something that probably one angle that we have not spoken so far: patient-centric approach, and especially something which will be more value-added tools for the patients. A simple thing like, for example, any respiratory diseases, allergic rhinitis, as an example, a simple tool which can tell a patient that, these are your triggers. So, before going to any particular place, take your triggers and, take the preventive care. Simple thing like this, if we can develop more and more applications for the patients, which the patient will find as a value-added service from the doctors. So it will complete the entire cycle of HCP, consumers, and pharma companies as a chain of services of value-added benefits. So these are the three things from my side, I think every pharma company should invest in, and this is the right time.
I think I've noted down on the three things. Thank you so much. And I think the first point where you mentioned about within pharma looking at the application of AI ML, yes, it was never our cup of tea. But with so much of data getting generated, if we actually have to make meaningful interactions, add value as to the role that we have always been playing in the industry, this definitely becomes the key thing that we have to start investing on, and ensure that also the way it's been done internally, the end output or the benefit is towards that customer, is towards that customer helping their patient. So I think the two things on customer centricity and patient centricity, with that theme, I would like to just quickly check with you, Mr. Girish. Uh, what are the top things under customer centricity and patient centricity that you feel maybe is neglected at this point of time, and we should definitely start focus at a big scale?
Yeah, as far as the patient centricity is concerned, I believe there are the two things which we can really help a patient. One is the patient education, and second is access to the health services. So these are the two things. If pharma companies can do something about you. A third thing I also believe is the reach of medicines to the patient, because that are three things we found in COVID were the most difficult. And if a company does it well, I think that would become a very strong advantage as far as marketing is concerned.
Absolutely, I think bang on that one. Uh, and I think looking at the time, I have to jump into the seeing the questions and putting that across to you. There is one question that we have, and I think I'll direct it to you, Abhinav. The question is that with the entire adoption and change management that we are talking about, definitely the capabilities within the organization plays a major role in driving this. And the capability of a medical rep in this entire puzzle piece that we've discussed so far is quite critical. So, what are the top three things that you feel is important to address when we are making our main wheels ready for taking us through the transformation?
I think this is the valid question, Zeenat, because the first customer for any pharma industry is the internal resource, that is the medical rep who's meeting the customer out there. So first thing, what I feel is most important during this transformation is to upgrade their skills, to invest in their knowledge, and to make them more what we can say upgraded with the information that during this transformation. Because even if you see during this transformation in the pandemic, the medical rep has also gone through a lot of changes, and the way they are delivering the content to the doctor, it is entirely different. Rather than going through the visual aid only, now they are the digital medical reps, and most of the company, they have already included the e-detailers, right? So first thing, upgrading their skill, investing in their skill, that is the most important part. Second, how to create long term touch points with the customer. leaving the point with the doctors or the healthcare practitioner where he can pick up in the next visit. For example, taking a clue from what Dolan has said, the AI is going to play a vital role in the coming time. So, how a medical rep can engage the healthcare practitioner through any AI app, might be an app, or it might be some kind of barcode integration into his e-detailer, or might be some leave behind in terms of the e-card chips, right? Which healthcare practitioner can utilize for upgrading the knowledge or can read out the data. And third, most important thing which I feel is the pharma companies can do, they can install or they can internally, and this is my anonymous view, where Mr. Girish Kulkarni or Dolan can also guide me for this, that the pharma companies, they can install the application where the medical rep can go through and can see his own progress, that how I'm progressing on the certain parameters in terms of my communication, in terms of my interaction with the customer, in terms of my effectivity or the coverage of the customer, which are the customer which I'm missing, and what is the impact on my business. So if we can do these three things, I think these three things will definitely going to help the pharma companies, because medical rep is the most important resource where most of the companies are missing out.
Absolutely. I think, like you said, the digital adoption for our sales team and also making them grow with the automation and the change that we're talking about. What insight do they drive to then customize for their targeted HCPs? I think is going to be important for the entire group to quickly adopt and then execute. Uh, just, I think I'd like to squeeze one more question. Uh, and the question is that what do you think is the need of today's need of one doctor with so many different things that's happening, their world changing, the platforms that they rely on eventually gradually evolving. With all this shift, etc., what are the key areas that the HCPs actually are looking out for when it comes to upscaling learning? And this I open to the group of whoever would like to take this question.
I will take it, Zeenat, first, because there are certain things which are more important in this changing times. That the one thing which has completely changed is the physical participation in the conferences, right? And if you see, that was the major platform where most of the healthcare practitioners, they come closer to each other. They do the knowledge sharing, and new latest happenings are getting shared during these conferences. So one thing which immediately can be done, and many companies, they are doing it right now, creating the virtual platform. Even we have created, I think many of the companies, they are already doing it, creating the virtual platforms where these conferences can be conducted, utilizing the right platforms, because there are many platforms right now available, and most of the platforms, they are engaging the customer. But we need to understand what is the right platform and how we can do the sustainable relationship or the sustainable long-term association with the healthcare practitioner, where we can provide the scientific content which is going to help him to improve the relationship with the patient or to improve his influx of the patient to the clinic. So this is what I feel is the most important, and the virtual platform and the use or the utilization of the right digital platform is going to play a vital role here.
Can't agree more. Uh, Definitely. And I think, yes, Mr. Girish, from you.
Yeah, yeah. I think while Abhinav has touched upon what a pharma industry should do, I would touch upon the other side what a doctor should do in this digital era. Because see, what we also noticed through our experience is that while doctor has started using the telemedicine as a platform, his practice is also going to emerge as a hybrid practice. He's not going to become 100% digitally practicing doctor or 100% physically practicing doctor. Eventually, a patient for certain needs, he has to visit a doctor and get him physically checked and get that access. But what has seen more as a barrier for a doctor to adopt to the technologies is that doctors are not very confident about using the telemedicine and delivering the health to a patient. And this thing emerges out of two primary issues. One is that they don't feel like giving the 100% treatment using telemedicine. Second thing, they are also worried about the privacy issues, data privacy issues, and they are not very sure how much that data is being protected, and that's the reason they do not have much confidence into it. So what we really need is that we also need to create education for the doctor, that how should they use this technology for their benefit, and how do they put across these technologies where they can be beneficial for them for enhancing their clinical practice, and how whole being having a complete set of digital ecosystem is going to help them have better patient support, and provide them the probably better patient care. So probably doctors can think about creating whole ecosystem across, and that would really help them balance out their practice in these uncertain times.
Yeah.
I
So
think you spoke about like the most important aspect. We unfortunately we could not dwell over, and I think Donald, if I can just change my question for you, so that we
yeah,
can
sure.
just get some information. So with telehealth, with these platforms coming in, definitely there's a lot that is getting churned out, which means that if we as a pharma company are giving a tele consultation platform to the HCP, it is certain things which we should not have rights to. Certain things we as pharma companies should not be getting a direct hands on. So there, I think it raises the question of compliance, uh, brings in the point for us as our role and responsibility of doing the business the right way. So something on that, if you would like to just add upon along with what you were going to add, would be my request.
Sure, Zeenat. So one factor is very clear today. Probably the help that doctors need from pharma companies and how they can increase their patient footfall, right? Because everybody is suffering, and they're not very sure whether this teleconsultation is going to stay for long, right? So this is definitely one help that one support that HCPs need for pharma companies. Now, compliance. I know. I know that everybody will agree the world has become very small, and especially in terms of compliance, entire world is well connected. And I think all pharma companies, at least for my company, I can tell that compliance is something which is the most important thing for the entire team of our company. So and as Jinath rightly said, then pharma company offering a teleconsultation platform to the doctor, it can lead a different thing dimension to the entire thing. So there are ways how we can do it. There are companies who have their individual teleconsultation platforms. So pharma company can just be the mediator, offering the service with or without any other additional benefits that or expectations in terms of any return on investment or something. It can be purely from the social service or service to the healthcare industry perspective. So at least from I would say, so this is the end objective, just to serve the patient, and also to handle the doctors who really need a support from the pharma company at this point of time. So the going via a third party, or supporting the companies who do such develop such platforms without any business interest from that.
If Ms.
Yes.
Zeenat, you although I will just add a point to what Ms. Dolan has said. In addition to the voluntary compliance, what she's been pointing out, we are also awaiting the Disha Act, which is the Digital Information Security in Health Act, which unfortunately because of the pandemic could not go through. But once that act comes in picture, then there will be a regulatory compliance to it, and probably then we will see that entire digital health having the complete regulatory framework towards it.
I think that's something we're all watching out for, of what is that act brings along with it. And I think in the absence of it in a formalized manner, I guess both of you are right, that we have to take up that onus. I think pharma companies are the torchbearers in any change, and while we talk about understanding the need, while we talk about addressing those need with the digital and hybrid models. But the most important thing in all this lies is that we've got to do it the right way. Uh, like Dolan, you mentioned about, let's identify what's the right way, whether it's the partner, whether it's something. But we definitely need to put our foot there to start solving. But always, I think, nevertheless, it's always said that like it is believe in everything that we do is we've got to do it right. And but let's figure out the way we can solve it for sure as together and bring the healthcare industry to the change that it deserves together and in a faster way. So I think this discussion's been really engaging and insightful for me for sure. So thank you so much, each one of you, for bearing me for an hour and being nice enough to address my questions. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks a ton. I'm sure there's a lot of food for thought that the audience who has joined us also is leaving with. And I think even if we stir up that one idea that changes and impacts each one of us, we've done the job today. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining in today.
Thank you, Zeenat. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Zeenat. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Zeenat. Want to really thank you for this, coming on board and be moderating for the second time. Thanks, Girish. Thanks, Abhinav. And thanks, Dolan. I think your inputs, your insights that you'll have given in this talk has really been very valuable to the entire industry and all the audience that is coming on board and watching this. So a lot of take-home messages, I said. So we got a good framework to initiate any campaigns. Lot on what we are doing. Most of the talks was on translating what had happened. From translating, now we are transforming the digital approach. So this is a very exciting times for all of us, and looking forward to all the capsule program that will happen ahead, and looking forward to interact with you all once more. And thanks so much for this.
Thank you, Hans, for actually providing this forum for all of us to come together and talk about this. I'm sure I talk on behalf of each and everyone here that this is something we're living and breathing every day. But coming out in putting it for the rest, I think, thank you again for providing this platform.
Yeah, so there's a big way to go ahead. We feel that these are just baby steps, and coming out with white papers, research, like most of you all were talking about, is in terms of proper frameworks, going ahead with standardization of communication. I think this is the baby steps, and we'll be hopefully gathering all of this information, which will be beneficial for the whole industry. And thank you so much for your inputs right now that you all are giving in. This is going to be big value for everyone. Thank you so much.